Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the isles and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, if I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go? Where would I go? Where would I spread my bed? Where would I lay my head? Nobody know. Nobody know. If I ever had to leave me home, no other place I ever roam could be like Belize. Be like Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the isles and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. Creole and Garifuna, Mestizo and Maya, living in peace. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the isles and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, if I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go? Where would I go? Where would I spread my bed? Where would I lay my head? Nobody know. Nobody know. If I ever had to leave me home, no other place I ever roam could be like Belize. Be like Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea.
It's 7:28 in the studios of PlusTV. Good morning, Belize, and thank you so much for joining us on a beautiful Thursday morning. Today is the 20th of August, and it's certainly a pleasure coming into your homes. Thank you very much for joining us. As I said, it's Thursday morning, so I am joined by Pastor Scott Sturm. Scott, good morning.
Lewis, good to be with you. Belize, good to be with you as well. And lots to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about, Scott, and that includes talking about ourselves in a sort of way.
That's right.
Because I think a part of the news deals with a pastor, one of us, a person who carries the title and responsibility that we hold very, very dearly to our hearts, and it's making the rounds on social media and in Legacy News. So we have to discuss that this morning, along with the other stands that have been taken by the church in regards to the conditions that NTUCB has placed before the government, requiring a response for 90 days, the government's response, etc. So join us this morning, please. For those of you who are watching us on PlusTV Belize Facebook page and the PlusTV Belize YouTube channel, please like and subscribe. Please share our content this morning. And of course, our telephone lines will be open at 822-2031 to hear your comments or questions and concerns. I'm going to start this morning with the weather report. Scott, by the way, I think you guys beat me to it yesterday for the week. We had a rise and shine yesterday morning.
That's right.
Thank you very much. We did not have one Monday and Tuesday. And so this is my first appearance for the week.
We had some technical difficulties, right? And technical difficulties, on steroids.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah.
We were a bit confused with the amount of wires we had to go through to find
Where
the problems.
is, yes.
But we eventually found the problem and then simplified the process. So we've been, for those of you on alternative networks as well as Next Gen or Central Cablevision that have been having problems, and I think Next Gen feeds Centaur and the Southern Cable Network. So quite a few people were not seeing us live for almost a week, and so we apologize. We're back, and I believe that you should be getting a more stable signal moving forward. So it is our desire to continue to serve you to the best of our ability. The general situation for today calls for warm and mostly dry weather conditions to prevail. For the next 24 hours, we can expect mostly sunny and warm skies today, and partly cloudy skies tonight. Showers will be isolated with a medium chance of a few more, along with isolated thunderstorms developing over the south of the country tonight. Marine conditions: winds are blowing from the east at 10 to 15 knots with sea state light chop and waves 2 to 4 feet. Temperatures inland: the lows this morning was 74 and the highs inland will be 95 degrees. On the coast, the lows this morning was 83 degrees Fahrenheit with the highs as 89 degrees Fahrenheit. And then in the hills, the lows this morning was 68 degrees Fahrenheit with the highs as 82 degrees Fahrenheit. The outlook for Friday and Friday night is for cloudy skies at times. Showers or thunderstorms will be generally isolated, with a few more possible over the south of our country on Friday night. And that is the weather report for today. So we can expect some fairly good weather as we move into this weekend.
I like to hear that. Good weather as we move into this weekend, right? So, yeah.
Scott, I think first and foremost on our topics for this morning, we have to discuss what is taking place in the south of our country as it relates to Pastor Victor Hernandez. I think he's a name that is very well known in the country, in Christian circles.
Yeah.
You know, I need to say that when I'm in the Toledo district, when my entire family is in the Toledo district, we fellowship at that church. We fellowship in Jacintoville at Toledo Christian Outreach. You know, Pastor Vic is a person that we love dearly, loved his ministry, his family, the elders of his church. We have had nothing but excellent relationships over the decades, I would say. I could remember as a child in Toledo district, in PG, living in PG, 63 Front Street. That was our address. I remember there was a little church on Main Street. The church where my pastor pastored was on Front Street. His church was, Pastor Vic's church was right close to the park, that little triangle park that is across from the town board.
Right.
At that time, the town board, well, I think the town board now has moved to near the airport, I think. But the town board for a while was close to that little community center, and across from there was just a little wooden building. And Pastor Vic came to Punta Gorda, began his ministry with youth and children. I was a child at that time, but I have really fond memories. We left Punta Gorda eventually. He entered into business, had a shop there on Main Street, and his church and ministry expanded throughout the entire South. And so it is not with any kind of happiness or any kind of vindictiveness or any judgmental attitude that we say that we lament the predicament that has now befallen the church and Toledo district, which is the epicenter, Jacintoville, and the ministry which Pastor Vic grew over the decades to become a formidable means of support for many people in the South. However, I add to that immediately that we are looking at a court case that wound its way through the justice system, and that several weeks ago came up with a verdict of guilty for Pastor Victor Hernandez. 2 counts of rape and a count of sexual assault. And then I think it was this Monday that the sentencing took place I think the sentencing was divided into 3 parts, of which the greater part of that sentence is what is in the public domain and is what is going to more or less be served out.
Right, because you know, they allow sentences to either go concurrent, which means like he got 3 different charges for 3 different sets of time, but if they're going concurrent, then they're all serving at the same time. If they're consecutive, they're lined up one after the other, right? And I think that was because of some other different considerations that were given in that sentencing, right? But Lewis, the whole situation is it's sad. It's lose, lose,
right.
lose. There's no winners in the situation, and
right.
so the justice that came through the court system is a glimmer of hope, but it's not a win. It's not a win for anybody, but it's a very, very sad situation. You know, what I think about is what David said, you know, about when King Saul and Jonathan, when they were killed, David cried out and said, how the mighty have fallen, right? And God is a redeemer, he's a restorer, but it's very, very sad that this happened, Lewis, and so anyways, there obviously there is a victim, but there's also, when he was charged, Lewis, we made a decision in NEAB that he should be removed immediately, because the scripture talks about leaders should be above reproach, which would even include accusations, right? And so when we made that decision, but then we found out that there was some others, but people didn't want to talk or whatever. The one where it went to court is because that person went and filed a police report, and I want to say it's so important, Lewis, in these situations. If there are victims from any type of situation like this, it's so important for that to be brought to the authorities, right? And the other thing I want to say quickly, we can talk about this some more if you want, Lewis, but for those that are in the situation of making compromised decisions, the time to talk is when you're struggling in your mind, right? Like, that's the time to get some covering. That's the time to talk, and you can say, I'm struggling in my mind, or you can say, I did something stupid. And it's better and easier to say, I'm struggling in my heart and our mind. And I think all of us have hit into those different points. There's tremendous warfare, spiritual warfare in relation to ministry in the kingdom of God. The enemy will try and throw anything that he can, but having accountability people, Lewis, where we can say, you know what, I need some covering, I need some prayer, and that's how you beat the devil at his own game. And so we could talk about that some more later. That's talking about the preventative side, but yes. Right now, you know, that's made the news. Again, the decision was made on Monday to hit the news last night. It's a very sad situation, but I want to say this: God is a redeemer. He takes what the devil intended for evil and he turns it for good. If everybody brings their heart with brokenness, humility, and repentance before God, God will turn this for good. And but very sad situation, Lewis.
Yes, amen. And so I think it's important. I would want to speak to the church congregation first of Jacintoville. You know, we love you. Like, this does not make any of us happy, because we have seen the work, we have seen the ministry, the needs in the community. I could understand why you rally around your pastor, and I think you should continue to rally around your pastor and his family to support. There is a need for prayer. There is a need for emotional support. I think that is fine. I think where we draw the line, I would say, is there should not be attempts to either bring the justice system or the victim into ill repute, because the courts have looked into this matter deeper than any of you can look into the matter. And as a local church, you need it would be good if you would understand that you do have a bias towards your pastor, a love towards your pastor. But what the courts are saying is that something did happen that was not supposed to happen, and the courts have labeled that as rape, whether you agree with that or agree with that. And I think that it's important for the church to understand that who you build your life around is not around a pastor. We build our lives around Jesus Christ himself. And so, though this may be a blow to the local church, to the congregation, and to the other ministries, like the person that you serve is Christ. And you must learn to forgive, you must learn to love, and you must also learn to rally together and continue the work, continue to encourage each other. This is not the end of your work or your life or your ministry, but I think it is important to move on. And it's also important for self-reflection. There are many churches, and I could speak to the wider church. There are many churches across the nation that your trust for your pastor and leader is preventing you from putting in place certain controls, measures, guidelines, and guardrails for your leaders and for your children and for your young people. So every church, Scott, needs to be a safe space, not just through teaching, but also through implementation. Like my church has had to look at where the bathroom is. My church has had to look at who are the people who go in and out of the bathroom, whether or not the bathroom has like a clear access point. When people are in worship, who is monitoring the corridors? Are our teachers approachable so that if something happens, we can address it immediately? So creating a safe space is a process. We have brought people in like Diana Shaw to do workshops with our teachers. At my door there is a glass. You'll see a glass window in my door. It does have, eventually somebody in the church put up a black shade that they can pull at and not pull. But my office door has a glass that anybody who is passing can peek in at any time. So it's not that my church does not trust me. It's not that they don't love me, but they build in these measures and they discuss these measures with me. So because they love me. That's right. Because they want to ensure that the trust remains. Like in the area of finances, I don't count the money. I don't know. I will see numbers on a paper. I will see numbers on a paper. If there is an amount that they say, okay, pastor, you are able to spend up to this amount, just like the government has a $10,000 threshold.
Church has thresholds
the church
too,
has
right?
thresholds too. And people who move the offering either from the church to the bank and give reports and all of these types of things. So it is for my protection, but there are churches that may have those areas in finances, but I'm saying that it's time, like that safe space has to include interactions, where interactions are held, how interactions are held. Young people, youth groups, youth leaders, young pastors. Not saying that older pastors are exempt, because the problem that we are seeing here is an older pastor. But all of these things help to generate the atmosphere of a safe space. We have hedges So we have almost competing ministries, if I could use that terminology, that are taking place more or less in the same space. So we have guys that are fresh from prison, or they have been on drugs, have been on the streets, and then they fellowship at a church where we have children's ministries that are at work. And so we have had to create border lines, like nobody is allowed inside the church when these children are present. And just laws, and then we constantly have to oversee those laws. Cameras in the corridors. So I'm sorry that I'm just going a little bit in depth, but just to say, okay, well, this is a spiritual era, and the mantle is over this place, and the anointing is over our leader, and our leader is a man or a woman of God, and so we know that they're going to act with integrity, is no longer the level that we should aspire for. We have to go beyond that, where not even the opportunity is created for mischief.
That's right.
Because we can see that there are more and more mischief makers as well in the process. So I am not speaking to that specific issue to say whether it is a mischief maker or not, but I am saying that the time to look at your church building and your church campus from a different lens and perspective, that time is now, if I could put it that way.
Yes. And then, so Louis, and anybody that would question accountability, like you're questioning the safeguards. Those accountability factors are put in as safeguards. It's not a matter of people don't trust you. It's a matter of just having wise safeguards. But I also want to say, Louis, that we need those personal safeguards. We need those boundaries in our heart. There's certain things that I won't do. I don't meet with women alone. I don't counsel women alone. I have my wife together with me. And I have been in some situations, Louis, with my wife right there next to me, and I feel uncomfortable in this situation, and I've excused myself from that and asked my wife if she could follow through, right? Just because the importance of those internal boundaries in our heart, and that's why I was sharing earlier. If you are struggling in your mind, and that happens to all of us, and so I'll be a little bit. You shared some details and a little bit vulnerable relation to you guys' church. I will share about one of our accountability times with our men, and I'm kind of wrestling in my mind that week, going back and forth, and so feeling like God is saying I need to open up and share, and it's like, no, but then what would they think of me, but I need to open up and share, and I'm going back and forth. Finally I realized, wait a minute, this sounds like the devil to me. Guys, I'm struggling in my mind, right? I said, I'm keeping the door closed, but I'm tired of having to keep the door closed. I feel like the enemy's trying to kick the door down with thoughts in my mind. And guess what happened, Louis? I'm sitting there with this group of guys, and the one guy said, me too. And the next one, me too. And the next one, me too. Yeah. And the whole set. And then another guy opened up and shared, something. And I just said, okay, well, you guys, we need to realize we're under attack. Let's buckle down. So let's fast and pray. But what would have happened? This is what I walked away with, Louis. What would have happened had I not humbled myself and opened up and shared with the guys, and then we wouldn't have realized that we're all getting hit by the same thing. There's an enemy attack. Right. We buckled down. We broke through. One guy, I said, I want you to talk with your wife about this, and he looked at me like, I said, it's okay, just tell her what you just told us, right? And I said, I'm going to hold you accountable. Called him the next day. You talked with her wife? He said, I did. and we had a wonderful talk, and she prayed for me, and she said exactly like what you said. I mean, I heard the devil, running away like a whipped dog with his tail between his legs, and I just want to encourage all of us having those personal boundaries in our heart and in our character. Lewis, for me, I've got a long list of things that I always do, and there's a long list of things that I never do, and I want to encourage everybody. We have to hold our own feet to the fire. We have to walk in those dynamics of accountability, those personal boundary lines. Life doesn't make sense without boundaries. And yesterday, Lewis, together with Pastor Santi and Pastor David, I made a very strong comment. Life doesn't make sense without good friends.
Yeah.
And those good friends are accountability partners, right? And we need that. So I just want to encourage everybody. There are ways that we can prevent these things from happening. The easiest way is to not get yourself into a position where something could happen. If you could discern that and set those boundary lines far away, you can avoid getting yourself into either a situation where something would happen, or you could be accused of something happening that didn't happen. And so I don't pick up young ladies in my car, and so if it's an old lady that I know, I will pick them up. Definitely, I want to, help the elderly and all that. But I'm sorry, I live my life in a fishbowl, and people watch every move that I make. Same for you, Lewis. And so you well said, Lewis. You made a post after when the conviction happened in this situation, and you put it into words very, very well. That's one of the reasons why I appreciate you. But we as spiritual leaders must hold ourselves to the highest standards of integrity. And that's why we're talking about this, because you got to have those boundaries in your heart. There's principles, there's things that we always do, and there's things that we never do. And so anyways, I just want to encourage everybody. That's part of how we defeat these kind of things, is by putting those safeguards in place.
Right, and like my wife is a critical part of that structure.
Yeah.
Right, because the best way, the fastest way to disarm any kind of attack or any encroaching female or something like that is by saying, babe, this is what I see, or this is what I sense. Or the other way, which is a wife that is discerning, that is able to say, hey babe, I noticed that this particular person is like encroaching into your space, or you are, I don't want to say you're spending too much time, but whatever it is that they mention, or however it is that they frame it, like that's a important indicator. And so if you are a person who abuse your wife, or verbally abuse your wife, or belittle your wife, or put your wife to sit in the corner, and you are the man of the house, and you are the man of God, and whatever abusive language you use, that you tune your wife out, like you are really setting yourself up for danger, because it is my firm belief that my wife is God's gift.
That's right.
To me. So an important and integral part of ministry is my wife speaking into my life, whether I like it or not. Whether she says, that message was, sometimes she would say, you put yourself too much in that message. I don't like that at all. I was like, it's the only examples I have,
It's the word of your testimony, right?
Yeah. And they're like, but I don't like that. Because, it's just like, but, I would like to talk. Well, I still have to measure myself. I say, all right, what happened?
And you have to listen to your wife when she speaks. Right?
So I'm sorry to say this, but I believe that some of these problems are caused because these leaders are not listening to godly advice. Because I'm sorry to say it, but I don't think that God will just leave his servant out there let's, even if it's in a matter that is not like true or not true, it doesn't even matter as I'm thinking about it. Like God will ensure that the signs are there, like that there's the Holy Spirit, there's the conscience, there are the people of God that are circled around you. There is your wife.
They start to pick up on things.
Yes,
right?
like there are just so many different red lights or red flags that would go up before something reached the point. Like, this is the God that I serve.
That's right.
Like the God that I serve recognizes the importance of pastoral integrity, because he's the one who selected you as his servant. And so he is not going to allow the darts of the enemy to penetrate. Like, that's not what God does. Like, we have to literally take off our armor for those darts to penetrate. You see, so essentially there had to be, I'm sorry to say this about the Punta Gorda, about the Toledo situation, but there had to be many red flags that were ignored, violated, boundaries crossed, which enabled this level of penetration. So I'm sorry to put it that way, but like it is for this reason that those who are in higher positions and positions of spiritual authority are held scripturally to a higher level, a higher standard, because we know better. And like, that includes me. I'm sorry, but like, I am not excluded in any way from either the attacks or the temptations, or the temptation to lower the barrier, or to feel that I am exempt. I believe the first lie, or one of the first lies, will be a feeling of exemption, that we are exempt or beyond someone coming to us to say, Louis, I see red flags, or I hear red flags, or the Holy Spirit has placed upon my heart the need to speak to you. I'm not saying something is happening. I'm not saying something is not happening, but why is it that I have an unction from the Holy Spirit to stop whatever I am doing to come to say, hey brother, are you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, Louis, when you have brothers around you as accountability partners, and somebody feels an alert, right? And then they bring it to your attention. If you're wise, you listen to that. Same exact thing. If you're wise, you listen to your wife. If you're wise, you listen to the other elders. Why have elders if you're not going to listen to them? Mm-hmm. Louis, I was in a situation where I wanted to pull somebody up to leadership, right? But I submitted that to Kerm, who's one of our elders, and Jason Twist, who's one of our other elders, and they didn't feel comfortable with that, right? And I'm thinking, something in my mind is saying, excuse me, like I'm the leader here, hello, right? But God just spoke to me like, Scott, why have other leaders if you're not going to make team decisions? And so I submitted to what they said, and sure enough, shortly after that, something came out, and I just thought, that was the grace of God. That was the alarm system that kicked in, right? But I've had to minister to people before, Louis, and try and help them discern, why did your alarm system not kick in? And come to find that somebody back there clipped the wires, something happened in their life, it clipped the wires. And so the process of healing and restoration is getting those wires soldered back together, getting everything connected, making sure, and then I want to see the system tested. And I've gotten calls at 2 o'clock in the morning, right, from somebody saying, Scott, I just had a bad dream. I'm getting hit right now, and I'm thinking, I'm smiling, going, good, this is what needs to happen.
Yeah.
I'm willing for 2 o'clock, in the morning call, because it's testing the alarm system.
And it
builds,
disarms the whole thing.
Yes,
Scott.
yes.
It disarms the plot of the enemy, because you've brought it from darkness into light.
That's
So
right.
when we harbor these things in our heart, when we feed on these things, or we just naively say, okay, we just naively set it aside. No, I want to tell my wife.
Yes.
Like I want to place it on the record. It's just like sitting in the house in the Senate. I said by myself, was not a very nice feeling. I said, I'm going to place this thing on the record here. Like this, we won't. Because you will notice we haven't had a Senate meeting since then, right? Because when the storms come, I notice no House meeting, no Senate meeting. When everything quelled down, then let's go back to normal.
Somebody said we need another scandal over here to where we can move on, right? So
yes.
Yeah, Lord have mercy.
No, we're going to enter this thing in the record.
Right,
so
that's right.
On numerous occasions I have come to my wife and said, no, let's enter this thing in the record. And I said, babe, like this is happening, or this, or look at this text, and what perspective do you think this text is coming from, and have I responded in a proper way? So we have to do this, Scott. And I also want to say that just as much as I talk about the creation of a safe space, that I have to also talk about the creation of an environment when when something has happened, that individual believes that they are in a safe space where they will be heard, where they will be acknowledged, where the response is not going to be, how dare you bring that accusation against the man of God, or look at the problem that you are creating in the church. So like that person has now battled all of the emotions and has finally come forward, and what they need is a wall. And this is something that has affected many churches, like in the United States. You have seen it. That has created great problems, because there was stonewalling, or a victim came forward with an accusation, and it was either pushed under the carpet,
disregarded,
or the story was turned around, so like the victim now looks like a perpetrator, or suck it up for the glory of God and for the good reputation of the church and the pastor and these types of stuff. And these things need to stop, because it's already very difficult for a victim to come forward.
That's right.
We need to ensure that we create the kind of environment where a person is able to come forward and to say like this is my story, and to know that they are valued, to know that they are heard. And it is always difficult to receive a report like that. It is always very, very difficult. But there are ways that you can navigate through that by having elders, like you have fellow elders. We have a board, and sometimes the board is not made up of elders because of the process of selection, but you still need to have like those. A board is not a biblical principle. Sorry to put it that way. Like elders, it's an organization, and it has its advantages. But on spiritual matters, you need to make sure that even separate from your board, and your board may be well performing from an administrative perspective, but lack the spiritual depth to deal with this issue. So you have to ensure also that you also have that eldership. Even if your church doesn't call for it, your denomination structure doesn't call for it, you need to know and understand that there is the spiritual need for that.
That's right.
So that you can go to these people. you also need to be able to identify when something is a criminal matter.
That's right.
Where it has passed the boundaries cut of spiritual discipline.
That's right.
and moral breakdown.
Or ethics.
And the ethical aspect, and it has moved into the realm of the criminal, of police. This is very important for pastors.
Legal lines get crossed,
yes.
and what I have taught Lewis is
yes.
there is no need for a church investigation. This is a criminal
yes.
investigation.
Yes.
Once this line is crossed,
yes.
and then let the police go
yes.
wherever the evidence leads.
Yes, let's review that. Let's repeat that. Let's understand that. Let's take that to the next level, where a complaint comes to you as a pastor, and as that complaint is coming, you recognize that there is a possibility. It's not even your responsibility to determine that laws have been broken. I'm just saying the possibility that this has legal implications. That's no longer the realm of the church.
That's right.
That becomes the realm of the state, because your mind, your spirit is indicating that, like a red light is going off, that lines have been crossed, that have moved it into the legal domain. At that point, you have a responsibility to either take it to the police, or to encourage the person to take it to the police, or take the person to the police, or assign somebody to take the person to the police. Now, after you have done that with the police, then there is the support, and then, of course, if it is somebody in the church, right, that's under your leadership or church leadership, then action still has to be taken. Because remember, it has gone to the police. So now the thing is that at least until that police report comes out, Scott, or something is done, that person has to be placed on pause. That person has to be placed on pause.
Must.
Right? Must. So I think these are dynamics that will help your church. And these are conversations that have to be had, either at the board level, at the eldership level, at the leadership level.
But Lewis, we've kind of picked up this standard because this is what happens in government a lot of times. There's an accusation or maybe even a charge from the police, right? But it hasn't gone to court, and so innocent until proven guilty. So people want to stay in their position because they haven't been proven guilty, right? And it's like, in the church realm, we have to have a higher standard than that. And so this is what I encourage, Lewis, is that I believe in restoration, right? And so in balancing that with church discipline, Sometimes church discipline, they'll make a decision, they pull somebody down from ministry, right? And then they just have to pause for however long. But then there's no follow-up, there's no accountability, there's no getting into the inner workings, try and find out which of those wires in their alarm system got clipped or whatever, help them to be able to recover. And so I believe in church restoration. Yes. And so, but this is the principle that I use, Lewis. Ministry is an overflow of our relationship with God, right? And also relationship with others that we're connected with in ministry. And so when something bad happens in terms of a moral failure, something has gone wrong in your relationship with God, and as well as something has gone wrong in your relationship with your accountability people. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to press pause on the doing of ministry to where we can focus back on getting back connected with God and also connected together with your accountability partners who are part of your alarm system, right?
And so I need to bring that comment back to the Pastor Vic situation, because at the point in time where charges were laid. At the point in, actually maybe even before that, at the point in time when that woman went into the police station and made a report, and the church eldership and leadership found out that a report was made, Pastor Vic should have stepped down, or the leadership within that church should have had the authority to say, I'm sorry, Pastor, but you need to be placed on pause.
Yep.
And from every observation that I made, that did not happen at that church. So that showed that, in my opinion, that there was nobody in that church who could tell that pastor what to do. There was nobody that could say, I'm sorry, Pastor, but at this point in time, you cannot lead until these charges have been cleared. And so what I saw from a distance was attempts to function as normal, to let's just continue on, like this is an attack from the enemy, let's move forward. Well, this, at the point in time, I'm not saying that it's not an attack from the enemy, but because something has entered into the legal realm, the church has to respect the process that is going to take place. This is not ordinary, like this is extraordinary circumstance where a person has levied a criminal charge against your pastor, and then your church is trying to proceed as if nothing is happening. That is a violation of authority that God has given to the state. And I'm going to repeat that, because God has given authority to the state. Scott, even though a lie was framed against me, remember in that journalism thing in Cayo, when they said that I come and assaulted a minister's son,
and you cussed the biggest of bad words.
Yes, and I actually cussed bad words. Is what they said.
Even the police officer said to him, Pastor Wade,
Anyways, and the thing is, I didn't even know, because I was in my vehicle. I couldn't identify the person in a timeline. Like, there's nothing I could. I literally didn't know the person because I stayed in my vehicle, and then the person stayed in their vehicle, and then I got out of my vehicle, shot some video. My video camera was running, and when the person came at me to hit me with their truck, I jumped into my vehicle and I made good my escape. Yeah. So I did not have a clue who I was dealing with. So the person went to the police and said that they came out of the vehicle, that I cussed them. Yeah, assaulted them with my camera, and then I got into my vehicle and left. Now, although all of that was false, and I was charged, I had to sit before my elders, and I had to sit before you guys, and I had to sit before my board. 3 sets of
layers of accountability.
Absolutely.
Layers.
3 layers of accountability. Local, national, and then also those who I have submitted myself to. That was no joke. That was no joke. And this is just something that absolutely never happened, that I was totally vindicated for. And so things you just can't just continue as normal. Like there has to be accountable. So I believe, Scott, that there has to be somebody that can say, Louis, sorry, but you have to take a break right now.
Yeah.
There just have to be those people.
Yeah.
And the more responsibility I have the more these people need to be powerful enough
That's right.
to be able to again say, and I have to be humble enough again to be able to say, sit down.
If I could stick a pin on that though, Louis,
Yeah.
on the powerful enough thing, because you as a leader have to give those people that power. You give that to them by your submission, right? And so we have to give that power to people. It needs to be people that we trust. Louis, another one of the flaws, I believe, in this system is strong lines of accountability thousands of miles away, but here in Belize, not accountable to anybody, right? Like, please, I'm not big on as a colonial basher, right? But when I got that revelation of, wait a minute, how can, not in this situation, this was years back when I was first starting out in ministry, how can these people be so strongly accountable thousands of miles away, but here in Belize, not accountable to anybody? And I immediately saw a picture of United Kingdom, you know, and the whole colonial thing. But here in Belize, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean, aye, laddie, you know, like cut each other's throats. And so anyways, you need accountability people here, but you have to empower those people, right? And so, and I've heard Pastor Frankie share this many times. My wife already has a list of leaders. If anything happens to me, my wife is going to call Pastor Scott. She's going to call Pastor Wade. She's going to call Santi. My wife already has the list of leaders, and so that's where we as leaders we are holding our own feet to the fire. So we're talking about this because we want to see the wisdom of God be able to kick in to be able to prevent these things. And so yes, it's constraints. I'll be the first one to tell you, yes, it's constraints, but when you understand the wisdom of those constraints, you embrace it, right? And so that's called accountability.
You know, we got to take a break, but a weird thing, like the way derevelation was built, like there was a serious accountability structure. We were just kids. But there was a serious accountability structure. Like we would pull one another before the whole group and just like, where were you this week? Like, what were you doing? Who is that person? And like everybody just have to, oh well, they had no rights. Like we would laugh though when we look at it, like to say, no, look here, ask me that. Like everybody was, well, I was here.
Yes. But how many times have you heard this before, Louis? Right? That you treat me like Wally picnic, right? You know, and so.
And I watched like derevelation had massive controls where it was like what are you doing, and like just there was just that transparency. You know, it's amazing because it lasted 19 years. But my wife need people who she could go tell. Or she could just pick up the phone and say, this the way Louis, they do or not they do, or say or they say or not say, or tell me or whatever it is. And so these lessons must be learned. And those who choose to not listen will feel the brunt of the pain. And I always think that God gives us that opportunity to turn. He gives us that opportunity, multiple opportunities, because we are his people. But the sheep must hear his voice and must alter course. And so make sure that you can have these conversations with your pastor and make sure that your church is making every effort to create safe spaces for those who visit, are ministered to at every level. We'll take a break and we'll be right back. You're watching Rise and Shine on PlusTV.
Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize, sweet Belize. of the isles and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, if I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go? Where would I go? Where would I spread my bed? Where would I lay my head? Nobody know. Nobody know. If I ever had to leave my home, no other place I ever roam could be like Belize. Be like Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the isles and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. Creole and Garifuna, Mestizo and Maya, living in peace.
As a plumber for 25 years, I believe in quality, and that's why I shop for all my plumbing supplies at Benny's. Cheaper PVC pipes and fittings may save a little today, but leaks can cost much more tomorrow. And that's why I shop at Benny's, because quality is savings.
Quality is savings at Benny's. Best for you and best for me. At Benny's, it's the quality. Benny's, quality and savings.
It's been a while, you know, they have been asking, and finally this year, because it's been like 5 years now, you know, they have been saying, you know, we need help. Because they would have asked me, I don't have the knowledge and I won't try to tell them what I don't know. I could just tell them, my dad used to be a farmer, so I would just know so much. But we need someone that has the knowledge and have studied these things. So that's how we came up with getting an agronomist to assist these farmers. They have asked for it. And the government of Belize, along with BNBC, have assisted us with getting a personnel from the country of Cuba to come and assist us. The agronomist plays an important role, of course, right? Because, you know, we are using different chemicals for weed control, and if you do not do the right dosage at the right time with the right weather, I have learned that from this agronomist, that you cannot just say, get up today and say or call and say, we need the drone today, we need to spray. Now, you know, the agronomist is trained to, or he studied these things, right? So we listen to him. His help has been, you know, very important to these farmers. The farmers, they have responded with his knowledge to them, helping them to you know, improve their quality, their techniques, you know, maybe what they were doing. With the help from him, it's a better way to do it. We try to be fair, and we also want all the farmers to be happy with, you know, the assistance we're giving them. Production won't increase like maybe this year. Gradually, you will see it increase more and more each year. So we will need him. We will need his assistance.
Welcome to the William David Fonseca Parking Facility, your modern solution for safe and convenient parking in downtown Belize City. With easy payment options such as prepaid cards or coins, parking downtown has never been easier. Enjoy affordable rates as low as 75 cents for 15 minutes, $1.50 for 30 minutes, and $3 for an hour. Open and available 24/7. Park smart. Park safe. Park at the William David Fonseca Parking Facility. Modern, secure, convenient. Your Belize City Council. Always about the people.
So it started off like any other summer day in Belize. I decided to go down to Builders Hardware since I heard they had 25% off on summer outdoor products. I got a couple of items, a chair, a grill, a cooler, and I got carried away, but the prices were so good. But anyways, I might have gotten comfortable, maybe too comfortable. Then I saw the news, man, the hurricane season was not playing with me. But thank God, builders also had 25% off hurricane preparedness items as well. Flashlights, batteries, sealant, first aid kits, everything I need. And guess what? My grill survived.
Win the Encore Bundle. 2 Skydeck tickets, $500 DigiCash, a night stay at Grand Resort plus official Marshall Montano merch. Get your tickets for only $5 on the DigiWallet Marketplace games. And experience Marshall Montano the Encore way.
There have been a lot of questions about what the proposed broadcasting bill could mean for online content creators. So, here are answers to some of the most frequently asked questions. You create content online. You post videos, go live, work with brands, and maybe even get paid for advertising or sponsorships. But does getting paid for your content mean you now need a broadcasting license? The short answer is not automatically. There are specific requirements that determine whether you're considered a national online broadcaster under the proposed law. First, do you fall under the definition? You may be considered a national online broadcaster if all of these apply. 1. You control the broadcast. 2. You broadcast exclusively online. 3. Your broadcasts are mainly directed to Belize. And 4. Your advertising or sponsorship revenue comes predominantly from Belizean citizens. If all 4 apply, you may fall within the National Online Broadcaster category. So, if all 4 apply to me, does that mean I need a license? Not necessarily. If you fall within the category, the proposed framework provides for exemptions where the regulations allow. So, you may still qualify for an exemption. What determines an exemption? When developing exemption rules, the BBA will consider how much you earn or benefit, including revenue or other business benefits from your broadcasts. They will also consider how often you broadcast, including how frequently and how many broadcasts you make. Another factor is how big your audience is, based on your average or highest audience size. And they'll consider who can watch, including whether your broadcasts are open to the public in Belize or limited to a particular group. Other relevant public interest factors may also be considered. So here's the bottom line. Getting paid to create content does not automatically mean you need a license.
As a sheetrock installer for decor construction, I know the job is only as good as the materials I use. Using inferior products can lead to more waste, weak core integrity, sagging, and more time fixing the problems instead of finishing the job right. And that's why I trust USG Drywall, Ply-Sem, and Base Screws from Venice, because quality is savings.
Quality is savings at Benny's. Best for you and best for me. At Benny's, it's the quality. Benny's, quality and savings.
Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the isles and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, if I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go? Where would I go? Where would I spread my bed? Where would I lay my head? Nobody know. Nobody know. If I ever had to leave my home, no other place me ever roam could be like Belize. Be like Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the isles and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. Creole and Garifuna, Mestizo and Maya, living in peace. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the isles and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, if I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go? Where would I go? Where would I spread my bed? Where would I lay my head? Nobody know. Nobody know. If I ever had to leave me home, no other place I ever roam could be like Belize. Be like Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the isles and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the isles and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, if I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go? Where would I go? Where would I spread my bed? Where would I lay my head? Nobody know. Nobody know. If I ever had to leave me home, no other place I ever roam could be like Belize. Be like Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize.
It's the 28th of August and we are in our second segment. We really appreciate your support and your prayers. Please remember to support our advertisers. This is how we do it. We just came out of another battle. Grateful that the government has placed a stay on the BPL matter with Smart Scott, and grateful as well that the church, primarily the NIAB, was able to play a pivotal role in helping the government to change its course on that matter.
Big stuff, Louis, and they are matters of national importance, and you know, on the marijuana issue, Louis, as you well remember, it was like nobody wanted to touch that and take the lead, and so the church took the lead on that. Equal opportunity bill, you know, very few wanted to touch that, and the church took the lead on that. This one was more the unions and business, but for us as the church, there was the issue of justice, injustice, what we would consider to be corruption, particularly because of the level of conflict of interest of the insider circle that was making these decisions. And so anyways, but we were more in a support role, but it was important for the social partners to be together. And so I want to stick a pin, if I could, Louis, in the Constitution conversation. I was surprised to see there are those that are wanting to remove the social partners out of the Senate and do an elected Senate. If you could imagine this situation with an elected Senate, you know, everybody becks with the UDP, and so, you know, the House is PUP and the Senate is PUP, and something like this would have just cruised right through. I just want to challenge all of us as a nation. The only semblance of true democracy in our nation is those 4 social partner senators. You know, the ruling party senators always vote up. The opposition always votes down. And then you have 4 social partner senators that can vote up or down on the merits or the demerits of the bill. And so said, so done. That's exactly what happened in this last situation. Yeah. So we wanna appeal to the people of Belize. Please read the play carefully. Watch what just happened, and please tell me if you think that this situation could have been held in check without the social partner senators. I don't believe so, Louis. And so I think that I think it's one of the best elements of our democracy and yet I find it offensive that people want to remove that and go red and blue and go political. And so, anyways, I'm just bringing it to the point because I believe that was the safeguard that was able to help push that over the edge in stopping this from happening.
Yes, and for a true democracy to work and function properly, there has to be check and balance where power is distributed over various institutions and offices, not in people. And we had a situation where the Social Security, the people who sit on the Social Security Investment Board, they are all appointed by the government in power. And then you also have in the BTL that these people who sit on these boards are all appointed, the majority are appointed
by government.
By government again. And then you have the PUC, which is supposed to be the institution that regulates telecommunications. All of these people are appointed again. And we could see very clearly where this appointment prevented them from aligning their vote with the desires of the Belizean people. Like they felt beholden to the governing, not even the government, but the authority of the Prime Minister directly to vote or to withhold information. Because in the situation of the Public Utilities Commission, they withheld information. They withheld decision making.
Yep.
Because it's very clear that the legislation which governs the PUC stated that there were not to be attempts to create a monopoly. That what the marketplace was to be a competitive marketplace. And so there was enough information in the public domain, in legislation, there was enough legislation, there's enough experience by those who sit on that board for them to have made a decision, yet a decision up to right now has not been made by PUC, and what we have seen instead is the intervention of cabinet. So I can put it in another way, that the regulators failed to act, but the political arm intervened. And Scott, there is a problem when the political arm intervenes, because the purpose of the political arm is to create legislation. And then if that legislation is properly written, then it is going to be carried out effectively, and there is no need for political intervention. But I keep saying that when a politician has to pick up the phone and intervene, something has gone radically wrong.
Yep, I fully agree, Louis. And when the political arm intervenes, like who put these people there as the political arm? Were they not voted by the people? And then Louis, I know people that are involved, and I try to temper my words carefully, but I'm going to throw that to the side right now and say, this thing reeks to high heaven of conflict of interest, yes. Louis, and you're going to try and tell me that the avenue of feedback to the PUC, when you got seven pieces of feedback, that was consultation with 440,000 people in the nation of Belize. Like, Louis, I had to hold my hand over my mouth, right? Of just, I cannot believe this. And yet, so you're saying that you you got the voice of the people through 7 letters that came through the PUC.
Yeah.
So I was thinking referendum, Louis. I know you called me, you pulled the chain, back on it, but I'm thinking, gosh, we did the marijuana referendum in 3 weeks. I'm sure we could do this one in 1 week.
Well, yeah,
it was bam, like
yes.
Anyways, Lord have mercy, but political arm, you have to listen to the people. So, which I need to say, kudos to the Prime Minister. Thank you for backing off on this deal. Cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
Not quite sure what they're thinking. Some of the words are kind of, sounds like maybe they're leaving the door open for something else. As of now, and hold on, I don't want to hear about as of now. This thing was bad.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Well, one of the other ways that I analyzed it was that under Dean Barrow, this would never happen. The sale of the sale of smart BTL under Dean Barrow would never happen. Like, he would say no, and he has come forward. I say, if Patrick Farber is the leader of the opposition, this would be a no. If Shine Barrow was Prime Minister or leader, this would be a no. Okay, if Tracy Panton was Prime Minister, no, this deal would be a no. All right, man, we just went through all of the leaders of the United Democratic Party. Okay, so let's go to the leadership of the People's United Party. And so we go, okay, under Cordell Hyde, this would not be a go. Okay, Francis Fonseca, if Fonseca was Prime Minister, no, this would not be a go. Am I correct so far?
I think so.
All right.
I think so.
So I say, okay, which other very powerful PUP could make Prime Minister?
Honorable Julius.
Julius Espat. Okay, if Julius Espat was Prime Minister, would this deal be a go? No. Okay, you see?
Honorable Henry Charles.
You see? No. You see? So who is the only Prime Minister that you would see like a shot at this thing? So here you go. So it's not an economic environment that was creating the sale. It was a political environment.
Yeah.
It's a political environment. And we also know that because not enough economic information was present. As a matter of fact, as senators, we are still asking for that information.
And there's still been no answers, Louis?
Still no answer. Still no answer. Like, give us, and then we don't want answers as it relates to words. We want documentation. Let's put in black and white, because it is, again, easy to say. It's easy to say. It's easy to make promises. Oh, the rates won't go up until so much here, and no, it's like it's going to be like, these are words. Words are but wind. What we need is in writing. And we saw where the independent senators were not invited to a meeting. Where what we saw instead was that a letter was sent to the president of the Senate, and in truth, that was an attempt to have a conversation with the senators, but it did not go through for whatever reasons. The president and the clerk decided as it relates to timing, but this was a matter of national importance, and it was an urgent matter, and a meeting should have been called, but it was not called. But then it doesn't need, if you see the independent senators are out there beginning to agitate, then you don't wait for an official call from the Senate to say, let's have an information meeting. I think what you try to do is to get those black and white information out. And I think one of the problems we are having is where people are using a lot of words, but we don't need words anymore. What we really need is, we need our reports and black and white, and
need documents.
You need documents.
We want to see the info.
We want to see documents, because then I can take those documents cut and I can send it to my experts. I can send it and I say, read this page and tell me what you see tell me what you think here. I can send it outside of the country. I can pass it through AI if I don't have, and then we can. It's no words, documents, and black and white. And so I'm grateful to my fellow colleagues in the independent,
Yes.
what we call conscience senators. I'm very grateful for the work of the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Scott, because
right.
they did the lead on research, press releases, etc. The NTUCB did their work as it relates to coming into the picture with the force, with the people support through the unions. And then, of course, NIAB doing its work, lobbying with other pastors, understanding and keeping track of the issues of the day, and being able in a very proper period of time give the proper responses that could make NIAB a part of the decision-making process.
Well, Louis, I have to give glory to God, and I'm also thankful for our democracy in Belize, but there's a good team together with the social partner senators. Chamber, it's what? Business, money. That's what they understand. Business and money. You know, unions, what's their thing? Labor, right? The workers. And so, and that organization of workers, that's what they bring to the table. The church, you know, conscience, morality, you know, justice, injustice, those whole areas, and citizens of Belize, and the NGO community, also representative of citizens of Belize. Maybe they didn't necessarily have a big dog in the fight, but as citizens of Belize, they did. And then the wisdom from those people also understanding what's supposed to happen and what's not supposed to happen. And so it put together a very well-balanced team. I was very, very happy to see that come together in some of the meetings that we had. And so I'm a little bit concerned the kind of immediate dismissal of some of the recommendations that were made with that.
They may
but
just
I
be
expected
initial
it.
responses. They
I
may just
expected
be
it.
initial responses.
You know, when the union come with demands, I pretty much know what the response of government's going to be when they hear that word demand. Like, you to who you think you for tell we have to do, right? And so I expect that, but we'll see how that plays out. But Louis, anyways, we need to wind down, so maybe I'll just leave it with that, right? So
yes, but now the unions, the NTUCB specifically, because they're the ones that had the press conference on Tuesday, they are calling for heads. And I can agree with that, Scott, because it's almost as if it's like an accident happened, and then the police are saying like, just walk away, come on everybody, walk away.
That's right.
And you look back and there's just this mess. And so we need to recognize that we just came out of a mess, a constitutional mess, an economic mess, a legislative mess, like a mess where regulated bodies that were supposed to do a particular job did not do their job.
They weren't regulating.
Right? And so we have to review, and we have to say, okay, what went wrong, and who are the people that are responsible for this mess, and how can we make sure it doesn't happen again? But the NTUCB is also calling for heads, and legitimately so. This is one of our problems in the country, where if we do not penalize, then it's going to happen again. And then we're there like just going around in circles, instead of a person realizing that if I make this error based on what happened the last time, my head will roll. Therefore, I need to be more careful. But there is a group of people who brought the country to the edge of chaos. And chaos is never good for the economy, never good for business, never good for tourism. And we almost ended up with a situation where maybe tens of thousands of people would be on the streets, and you wouldn't know if that could erupt into a riot or something beyond what you legitimately want. So I believe that those who have brought the country to the precipice, not just that because we have now walked away, you say, okay, well, let's just move on. I think that there has to be some penalties to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
It's true, Louis. And I want to say this real quickly. I already said we should wind down, but I was happy to hear the statement from Cabinet. The Cabinet is no longer pursuing the acquisition. Very happy to hear that. Interesting to see the communique to BTL. And okay, folks, we're going to need to tighten up our belt here. We're going to have to function leaner, and we're going to have to be more creative. And I'm thinking, okay, that sounds interesting, right? And then the release from SpeedNet, the gloves are off. You know, we're going to compete. And I'm thinking, okay, wow, is this bringing us back to normalcy? Competition keeps the market pure. And so that's, to me, that's confirmation, Lewis. We were headed on a track where BTL was going to become fat and comfortable, and rates were going to go up, and there would be nothing to stop that from happening. So anyways, I hope that all plays out to keep the market pure and keep things for the best service to the people of Belize.
Amen. Thank you so very much, Kat. Thank you for joining us. Belize, there's nothing that can help the market be stable than competition. Competition, level playing field, and you will see those rates will settle themselves out. So that open marketplace of ideas and the free market, so much that supply and demand, these natural laws that are written in the economy that can help balance out these issues once somebody doesn't constantly want to put their hand on the scale. So from all of us here at Rise and Shine, God bless you, Belize. See you tomorrow.
Lewis,
thank you.
Belize, have a wonderful
Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize, sweet Belize, land of the isles and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize.